I'm here with Patty McIlreavy, the president and CEO at Center for Disaster Philanthropy, a four-star rated nonprofit on Charity Navigator. And just a quick reminder, that is the highest possible rating. Patty and her team specialize in relief and recovery during and after times of crisis. Patty, I'm hoping you can give us a quick update on how the Center for Disaster Philanthropy is responding to the crisis in Ukraine and how folks can get involved.
Yeah, so Kevin, thanks for having us. I mean, to be honest, we're not responding to the crisis in Ukraine any differently than we do any other crisis, any other disaster. We look at what the needs are. We utilize the expertise that we have as an organization in response, in recovery, and also with philanthropy and understanding philanthropy well. We blend those by talking to those individuals on the ground. Who is responding? What is going on? What is the best way to move forward? I mean, we talk about recovery, and I think sometimes people say, oh, recovery is something that happens later. No, recovery begins today. When you think about response versus recovery, very simple terms, response is the hot meal you receive when you arrive. Recovery is the food security you have, the cash in hand to go buy the meals that you need for your family. So it's about giving people dignity and choice. And that's what we try and do through our programming is get the funds, but get that approach that's more locally led, community driven, and with a longer term vision.
Thank you for walking us through that. I think it's pretty, normal kind of natural human instinct of you see suffering and you want to solve that and you want to do it immediately, right? Mm-hmm. But I think what you were speaking to is really kind of the need for the mid to long term, the recovery, right? And so could you expand on kind of the importance there and the work that you're doing, in Ukraine and all around the world, both domestically and abroad, to really help in that recovery process?
Right. So I think you're completely right. When a disaster occurs, everyone wants to help. They want to give the $5. They want to pull their coat out of, their old coat out of a rack, and they want to hand it over. And that's just the incredible human empathy, the immediate responsiveness, the putting yourself in other people's shoes. And I'm never going to say that we should fight against that urge. All I ask is for a moment to pause and say, if you were in that person's shoes, is that what you want? Would you want that? Or would you want someone who's looking at what do I need for that longer term? What do I need for stability? And that's where the recovery lens, where CDP comes in. In some ways, we're a piggy bank. It does not mean that we don't respond in the early days. We do, but with that recovery lens, if we can find organizations doing it. But we're also very cognizant of the fact that it takes years and actually, in actual fact, decades for recovery to happen for some populations. If you're displaced, the statistics nowadays are 10 to 20 years after the crisis is over before you return. There are people who are still who maybe will never be, back into their origin location, just from Katrina, for example, people who have relocated who will never return to New Orleans. And Katrina's a long time ago, just putting that in the American frame. So think of it that way. There are people who are leaving Ukraine today who maybe will return very quickly if peace comes. There are others who will take years and years to return. And if we are really looking at that need and wanting to have that initial, response and taking it forward, it's about listening to them and saying, well, what do you actually need? What is it that will help you feel settled? What is it that will help you recover in the best way possible, an equitable recovery, and a recovery that is your choice and that follows your guidance? And if we're really serious about that, we need to have the funds for those longer term visions, those longer term programs, and not just the longevity of those funds, but the flexibility of those funds. Because what response and recovery look like for the people affected may be very different from what we walk in thinking it is. And we need to be willing to listen and follow their lead. And that's what CDP tries to do.
Well, and I think you do it quite well, and it's been, illuminating to me, and I try to harness that spirit when I'm connecting with different folks that are, looking to piece together kind of physical goods and try to rally together and send that out. And I said, well, you really want to give people what they actually need, and maybe they don't even know what they need right now, for years to come. So I think that's where you plug in. I appreciate that.
Exactly.
Now, Patty, for folks that are watching that might want to lend you a hand and help out in CDP's efforts, how can they get involved?
Okay. Well, one of the most important things, Kevin, that I always say is, we're an expert. We're there to guide. We're there to advise. If you need expertise, if you need guidance, just come to our website. Give us a shout. We're happy to give that advice. But additionally, we have a fund available, which you can provide your fund, if you know you want to give, but you don't have the time or the energy to do all the research, but you really want to make sure that money gets in the way that I'm talking about, you can put it into our Ukraine fund. That's on disasterphilanthropy.org. There's a link you can get there and you can donate to that. And we will then kind of take it that last mile. And I seriously mean the last mile. We will work with, non-501c3s. We will look at how to get it as local as possible. Additionally, though, I just want to say, if you know the organization you want to help and it's not us, all we really care about at CDP is get the money into that area, help those people, dig deep and give. Dig deep and give in ways that allow those organizations that you trust and that you've researched on Charity Navigator to get the funds where it's needed most, right? So I never appreciate the hard sell that there's one route. People have a lot of different paths that they will take. All I ask is, follow the guidance that we give, which is to be nimble, to keep a long-term mentality, and to really work with organizations that are community-driven, community supportive.
A lot of insight and a lot of integrity there. Thank you for that. And most importantly, thank you for all that you're doing for those that are affected. And for those that are tuned in, I really appreciate you joining us. And as we explore all the ways that nonprofits are stepping up, and I would encourage you to consider supporting a trusted nonprofit like Center for Disaster Philanthropy and help them make a world of difference for people now and for years to come.
Thank you, Kevin.